We're learning the second Sikha on Parshas Teruma and Chelek Chavav on page 175. The shir today is being learned L'le Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Menashe Koltman. From Pasik v'nosata sakapeiros ala aron mul maila. In this week's parsha it says that you should place the cover on the aron above it. Now I'm translating kapeiros as the cover, but as we'll see in the Sikha, this will be the discussion how exactly to define this kapeiros. And in the aron you place the edus, which refers to the luchais, the tablets, inside it that I will give you. There's an argument between Rashi and the Ramban how this mitzvah is to be fulfilled. That is the placing of the luchais inside the aron. Rashi here explains, as das was in dem pasuk vet nichbal, dem tzivui, vela aron titenes eidos. Why is it that the Torah repeats again this command of placing the eidos, the luchais, inside of the aron? It already says this earlier, that you should place inside the aron the eidos. So Rashi answers, is Yeshleima we can say, Shabal Elamid, the pasuk here is coming to teach, Shaba Oidoi, Aron Levadoi, Beloi Kapeiros, when the aron is itself, before you place the kapeiros on it to cover it, Yitein Tchila Ha'edus L'Teichai, you first put the edus, the luchais inside, V'achakach Yitnes HaKapeiros Olav, and only then do you cover it with the kapeiros. Which means you don't build the luchais, build the aron that is, and place the kapeiros on it, and then uncover a little to place the luchais inside. Rather, the luchais have to be placed inside the aron before you cover it. And only after the luchais are inside, then you place the kapeiros on the aron. The Ramban stellt sich auf Rashi. The Ramban stops on what Rashi says here. And he asks on this. Im hoyezet tzava, if this is a command here, when the pasuk says v'nosata, then mashma yoser actually sounds more like it's saying sha'achar shiyitin hakapeiros ala aron kasher omar, that it refers to after you put the kapeiros on top of the aron, then you place the luchais inside, because the pasuk begins with v'nosata sakapeiros ala aron mul maila, and then it says ve'ala aron titenes eidos. So that when it says yitin ba'aron eidos, what does this mean? Even though it doesn't mention here clearly the kapeiros as well, ki aron yikare gam b'yos hakapeiros alav. Because when it says aron, it refers to the aron with its cover, which is the kapeiros, and therefore when it says that, it means that you place the luchais into the aron which has the kapeiros on it. So you build a whole aron, including the kapeiros, the cover that you place on the aron, then you lift it up a little and place the luchais inside. That's how it's done. Okay, so now, what is the point of the argument here? So the point of what Rashi and the Ramban are arguing about is as follows. Leit Rashi, v'ter aron levadoi, on dem kapeiros, angerufen aron, that it's only the aron itself that is referred to as the aron, without the cover, without the kapeiros. Und der Rebbe b'shas steht ve'ela aron titenes eidos. So therefore, when the Torah uses the expression and in the aron you place the edus, the luchais, even though it mentioned before kapeiros, but here it only says aron, and the word aron just means the aron itself. Meintos in the modern levadei belei kapeiros. So what it means is the aron itself, without the kapeiros on it. However, according to the Ramban's opinion, as aron yikare b'yos hakapeiros olav, that the name aron includes the entire aron with the kapeiros as well. That's what that word means. So therefore we can't say that the command there of ela aron titenes eidos means something that in its language does not sound like what it's saying. And therefore we conclude that titein means achar sheyitein hakapeiros eidos, that you place the luchais inside the aron after the kapeiros is on the aron, because aron actually means the aron with the kapeiros. So there's no reason to say that it just means the aron alone. So really what they're arguing about is the name, aron. What is this name? What is it identifying? Is it identifying just the aron itself and the kapeiros is separate? Or the name aron identifies the aron including the kapeiros as well? And as a result, the different way of how to fulfill the mitzvah of placing the luchais inside the aron. Now, the Rebbe will take this to a deeper level in understanding what comes out from this machlokes of Rashi and the Ramban. Now we can say based on this, as this is nit nar achilok and dem shem aron, This is not only a distinction in the identity of the name Oren, nor it says achiluk lahalacha in dem geder ha'oren v'akapiris, but there's actually a distinction here in how we define, according to halacha, the Oren with the kapiris that's on it. L'das Ramban, according to the Ramban's opinion, is a kapiris a prat v'chelek from the Oren. The kapiris is another part, another detail of the Oren itself. Und dafke, b'shas the kapiris liegt auf den Oren, is the Oren b'shleimusay. And only when the kapiris lies on top of the Oren is the Oren itself complete. Now, v'yeshleimah, to define this better, we can say, shuhu al derech, vi by dem Oren gufe, that this is similar to what it is regarding the actual Oren itself, was es gemacht geworden von shalish teves. It was built out of 3 boxes, actually. There was the inner box, which was made from wood. Then, in order to cover it with gold, inside and outside, there was another golden box on the outside and another one on the inside. So that's how it was built, together from 3 boxes. Und dafka alle zusammen stellen zu neuf, damit sie es Oren. It's all 3 together that make up the existence of the Oren, the gold Oren. Al derech says the kapiris, so similar regarding the kapiris, a kisui ala Oren. According to the Ramban, the kapiris is defined as a cover for the Oren, and therefore a chelik von Oren. Therefore, it's a part of the completion of this box that has a cover on it. Das Rashi, then according to Rashi, is the kapiris akeli b'fnei atzmai. The kapiris is a vessel in the Beis HaMikdash for itself. So it's not as mekayma is a Oren. The place where this vessel is positioned is above, on top of the Oren. But it's not to be viewed as a cover or the completion of the Oren itself. Rather, it's a keli for itself, that the command is to place it above the Oren. And we find also this idea, this approach, as it's brought lahalacha as well, the Rogatchover sagt, as the Rogatchover says this, as from them was the Gemara ruft on them kapiris keli. The Gemara refers to the kapiris itself as a vessel for itself. In the expression of the Gemara, ein donen keli mehechshe keli. And azayich from them versteht in Teres Kainim. Another source he brings of what it says in the Teres Kainim, it says in the Torah that there's a kapiris. Yachol yihi kisui la'arin. So I would think that what is the kapiris? It's a cover for the arin. Talmud leimar kapiris. So therefore the Torah uses a different expression, not a cover, but rather a kapiris. Kapiris la'arin ve'ein kisui la'arin. There's a kapiris placed above the arin, but it's not a cover for the arin. Is move on, so it's understood as that kapiris, that in the words of the Rogatchover, he says, what is the kapiris? Lehave rak b'shvil kisui. It's not just as a cover. Elazeh mitzias b'fnei atzmai. It's an entity for itself. Rak tzarich lahanichoy al Oren. But it has to be placed on the Oren, as we explained according to Rashi. Ulefizeh nafkemin ala halacha. And based on this, there's a practical relevance in halacha, wie the Rogatchover bringt dort, and as the Rogatchover brings this, der kapiris is klisharis machmes hazal shoyem kippurim. The kapiris is a vessel for itself that serves a purpose in the Beis HaMikdash, and that is on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim and he's spraying the blood, and it has to go onto the kapiris. That's what it serves for. Und the Rebbe darf the kapiris sein mishal tzibur, and therefore the kapiris has to be built from monies that was donated from the entire public. Nit shmoi von hayachid kasav olav. And there's no name of any individual that the Torah writes regarding the building of the kapiris. Mashenkin, the Oren hat nicht gehat din klisharis. On the other hand, the Oren does not have the halacha of a keli that serves any specific purpose in the Beis HaMikdash. Und the Far gefindt men as by dem Oren steht vayas Betzalel. That Betzalel, one individual, he built the Oren. Nicht by dem kapiris. But we don't find this expression in the Torah regarding the kapiris, since it has to be from the tzibur, serving as the klisharis in the aveda of spraying the blood on Yom Kippur. This is the way the Rogatchover defines it, and that fits with what Rashi says, that the kapiris is a keli for itself, and therefore in the Torah, when it identifies Orain, it means just the Orain, not the kapiris. Now, we can add other points that are relevant lahalacha between the 2 approaches of Rashi and the Ramban. One is Aleph and them kavana lishma. When you build the kelim, the vessels for the Beis HaMikdash, it had to be made with the having in mind that it's being made for the sake, lishma, of what it's intended to be. The Oisei HaKapiris have gedacht mechav zayin ba'asiyas HaKapiris lishma. The ones that build the kapiris have to have in mind that they're making it for what its sake is, lishma. What is that lishma? Das Ramban kommt according to Ramban's opinion, it would come out, das hat gedarft sein, nichlal in the kavanah l'shem aron. That would have to be this would have to be included in the general kavanah that it's for the aron. The kapaitis is not an entity for itself, so therefore the kavanah here has to be that it's part of the aron. Now, in parentheses, it's added here gekont ? Meaning that there's a suffix here that possibly, since the kapaitis is part of the yadain, but it's also a part of the yadain. It's not the actual box itself, it's the cover. So then maybe you can say that you can have a kavana as for the kapaitis of the yadain, or perhaps it has to be, the kavana should just be as a part of the yadain, but not as anything that's identified separately. So there's a shtickle suffix here about this. However, but the point there is that the kavana could be as the kapaitis part of the yadain. Rashi, however, according to Rashi, Yeshleim as the kavana l'shma had gedarvt sein abazunder kavana. When you build the kapaitis, there's a separate point here that you have to have in mind that you're building this as a kapaitis, no l'shem a kapaitis, not as part of the yadain, because it's a keli for itself that was positioned on top of the yadain. Beis, another nafkimina lahaloche, onemendig as the isit samachan azach in dem tavnis from Mishkan and Mikdash. On the Klei Mikdash is oich b'negei demoren. If we will say that the prohibition of building any of the kelim of the Mishkan in the same form and shape as it was in the Mishkan applies also to the Aron. So in the footnotes the Rabbi brings it, there's a discussion about this, whether it applies to the Aron as well. But if it does, then there'll be an nafkamina regarding the kapaitis. If the kapaitis is a chelik from Mitzias Aron, if the kapaitis is part of what makes up the entity of the Aron, damalt is maneuver of the Missa Nova Mamachtem Tabnis from Beda, the Aron and Kapaitis. So you will only be transgressing this prohibition of building an Aron as it is in the Beis HaMikdash if you build the Aron completely, which would include the Kapaitis as well. That's according to the Ramban. If, however, we say, like Rashi, that the Kapaitis is an entity for itself, is Yeshleima, then it could be said, as the Isser is Chal, Oich Mamachtem Aron B'fnei Atzmai. So then the prohibition takes effect even if you just make the kapaitis for itself, or the aron for itself, that is, or the kapaitis mit the kruvim b'fnei atzmai. Or you make just the kapaitis with the kruvim, which will be discussed soon in the sikha here, the kruvim that were hammered out on the kapaitis, even if you make that separately, so then you're over the isser as well, since it's a keli for itself. So here we see the extent of the machlokes of Rashi and the Ramban, that it's not just simply an argument regarding the name or the identity, but it's a machlokes regarding how we define the kapaitis. Is it the completion of the yadain, or is it a keli for itself? Now here the Rebbe goes a step further to explain the basis of their argument. What's the reasoning behind their argument? The Asbare in the Plukta now zwischen Rashi and Ramban yeshleima. So to explain the basis of the argument between Rashi and the Ramban, we can say as follows: As das ist verbunden mit dem Chiluk b'shitasam and klolos in Aron. This is connected with their opinion, how we approach in general what the Aron is for, what the Aron is about. The Ramban says, as Iker hachefetz b'mishkan hu mokim menuchas hashchina. The main desire of Hashem in building the Mishkan is the place where the Shechina dwells, shehu Aron, and that's the presence of the Shechina is in the Aron. Kamay sha'amar, as the pasuk says, v'na'adati l'cha sham, and I will meet you there. V'dibarti itcha me'ala kapaitis, and I, Hashem says, I'll speak to you from above the kapaitis, and therefore I'll came. The Ramban says, hiktim ha'arim v'ha'kapaitis b'kan chulu. This is the reason why the Torah begins first, saying how you build the arim and the kapaitis. He includes as one entity, according to the Ramban, before he speaks about all other vessels or parts of the Mishkan, because this is the main desire, this is the main point of the Mishkan. Und das wird aufgetan durch dem, was man legt rein, die Eidos, in dem Aron. And this is accomplished, the Shechina dwells on the Aron and the Kapaitis when you place the Luchais inside the Aron, mitam Kapaitis. When the Aron already has the cover of the Kapaitis on it, and you lift it up a little, and you place the Luchais inside. Und wie sagt, benegei the mitzvah von Asiyas Aron, and as the Ramban also says elsewhere regarding the mitzvah of building the Aron, that Asiyas ha'aron ve'akapaitis, Lasum Sham Ha'edus Timna Mitzvah Bifnei Atzma. Building the Aron with the kapaitis on it in order to place the luchais inside is counted as a mitzvah for itself. So what do we understand here from the opinion of the Ramban as far as what the concept, what the objective of building the Aron is? Das heißt, what this means is, as nitnar is der Orein, the Keli to the Eidos, it's not only the Orein, which is the vessel to keep the Eidos, the testimony, the Luchas inside, Nareich the Kapeiris, on the Kruvim, the Kapeiris and the Kruvim hammered out on the Kapeiris as well, is a Lavush, the Keli to the Eidos. It's a garment and it's a vessel that covers the Eidos, the Luchas. And this is what makes it possible and brings the fulfillment of Hashem meeting and dwelling on this Oren when he speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu and Bechlal. This is where the Shechina dwells. So we understand there that according to the Ramban, the point of the Oren and the Kapeiros is all for one thing: the Shechina to dwell there in the place where the Eidos, the testimony, the Luchais is inside. However, according to Rashi's opinion, is the Tachlis from the Oren and Kapeiros Bazundere in Yonim. The purpose of the Oren and the Kapeiros, which is another vessel, although it's placed above the Oren, but it's two different points. The Oren is to leave the Eidos. The Oren itself is for the Luchais, the testimony that's placed inside. As it's clear from the fact that when the Torah completes the command about the details how to build the Oren, Eider, that Tzivi, V'asisa Kapeiros Gaimer, even before it goes on to speak about building the Kapeiros, Zok Torah, the Torah immediately says, V'nesato ela Oren es Eidos asher eteni lecha, that you'll place inside the Oren the Eidos, the Luchais that I'll give you. As das is Tzlib der Torah. So the Oren itself is for the sake of the Torah, the Luchais that are put inside. V'Rashi taich ta Eidos, and as Rashi translates the word Eidos, ha-Torah shehi le'Eidos beini u'beinechem, the Torah that serves as a testimony between me and you, shetzivisi eschem mitzvahs haksu veizbah, that it's a testimony for the mitzvahs that are written in the Torah. That's the point of the Oren. Their Oren is to leave the Eidos. So what we see from this is that it's the Oren that's for the sake of this testimony, the Torah. In the Kapeiros, but the Kapeiros that the Torah tells of the command of building the Kapeiros afterwards is a Bazunder Inyan. It's a separate thing, and that is when we added to Luchav Sham v'dibarti itcha mi'ala Kapeiros mi'bein shnei akruvim goyma kol asher tzava oischa al bnei Yisrael, the place where Hashem says, I meet Moshe Rabbeinu and I speak to him from there above the kruvim. And what is he speaking about? Everything that I command for Yidden. And that means it's not for the Torah, but it's for Hashem speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu for the sake of Yidden. Nachmer, furthermore, later Rashi ala pasuk is this nit der inyan from menuchas hashchina. The point of the Oren or the Kapeiros is not the place of the dwelling of the Shechina, nor rather, as Rashi defines it, when I will set a time that I want to communicate with you. So that time, the place where I will come and communicate with you will be there above the Kapeiros. So the Kapeiros is a place for the Eibusher communicating to Moshe Rabbeinu on behalf of Yidden or for the sake of commanding Yidden. That's the idea of the Kapeiros. Not just the inyan of Menuchas HaShechina, the dwelling of the Shechina, which includes both the Oren and the Kapeiros, as according to the Ramban. Rather, the Oren itself is for the Torah, and then the Kapeiros is for Hashem communicating with Moshe Rabbeinu for the sake of Yidden. Und der Fall halt Rashi, and therefore Rashi's opinion here is, as Kapeiros is a keli b'fnei atzmai, that the Kapeiros is a vessel for itself, serving its own purpose, und nit a chelik von Oren. And it's not a completion, it's not a portion of the Oren. Now, based on this, the Rebbe moves on now to explain another aspect of the Kapeiros, which is, as mentioned before, the Kapeiros had the kruvim that were hammered out from the actual Kapeiros itself, and these kruvim were the shape of, as we'll see soon, the argument about exactly what shape it was, but there were two faces that were facing each other, and they had wings that would also spread out above the Kapeiros, and this was all hammered out from the Kapeiros itself. So now the question becomes, regarding the kruvim, similar to the discussion regarding the Oren and the Kapeiros, how do we understand the position of these kruvim above the Kapeiros? What is its connection to the Kapeiros and the Oren that the Kapeiros serves, sort of, according to the Ramban at least, as a cover for on the Oren? So now, Rashi and the Ramban, because of this distinction in our understanding of how we define the Kapeiros, as the argument here is between Rashi and the Ramban, whether it's a part of the Oren itself or a vessel for itself, There will also be a difference how we understand the kruvim that are on the kapeiros. Regarding the kruvim, you could also understand this in one of two ways. Aleph, either you can say the kruvim are an aprat from kapeiros. The kruvim are a detail of the keli of the kapeiros itself. Von Schnee Ketzais HaKapeiros hat man ausgeklappt Schnee Kruvim. It's from at the two ends of the Kapeiros. They hammered out the shape of the two Kruvim that came above the Kapeiros. So it's part of the Kapeiros. It's hammered out from the Kapeiros, and therefore it's a part of this entity, the Kapeiros. Beis, or another way to understand it is, the Kruvim sind nicht nur a prat in dem Kapeiros. The kruvim are not just a detail that's hammered out from the kapeiros itself. Was the kapeiros is a chelek von Aron. Now this kapeiros is really a part of the Aron als keli to the eidos, being a vessel for the testimony, the luchas inside. Now the kruvim gufe zene noch a teil von Aron. The kruvim is really just another part of the Aron, punkt wie the kapeiros. Just like the kapeiros itself is not a vessel for itself, it's the cover of the Aron. So the kruvim that are hammered out from this kapeiros is also another part of the Aron. So this also is another distinction between Rashi and the Ramban. Leit Rashi was halt as the kapeiros is a besondere Sach von dem Aron Kanal. In Rashi's opinion, that the kapeiros is separate, a separate vessel from the Aron, as explained. So then it's understood that the kruvim that are hammered out from the kapeiros, not a detail of the Aron, it's a part of the kapeiros. Nachmer, furthermore, from Pashtus on the Kreuz is mashma. From the simple reading in the pasuk, it would be clear, it seems, as the kruvim zenanit keninyan b'fnei atzmai, that the kruvim is not something for itself, not a prat in kapeiros. It's a detail of this kapeiros. Was the far, and therefore, as we see it in the psukim, Aleph, as mentioned before, is that the kruvim niksha b'shnei k'tzais kapeiros. The kruvim were not shaped and created separately and then attached to the kapeiros, but it was hammered out from the edges of the kapeiros itself. And beis, the way they were shaped, they have wings that are covering over the kapeiros itself. And the face of the kruvim also was facing to the kapeiros. The says, so as we see from the way the kapeiros and the kruvim, as the kruvim are made from the kapeiros, we can understand the keli of dem v'nei adati v'dibarti is their kapeiros. What is the vessel where Hashem comes and meets and speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu? That's the kapeiros. Not in the kapeiros gufe kommt der koel mi bein shnei kruvim. Part of the kapeiros is the kruvim, and there is where the voice of the Eibishter comes out to Moshe Rabbeinu. So mi bein shnei kruvim is the kapeiros. It's a part of the kapeiros itself. That's a simple understanding of the psukim and based on Rashi's opinion. Masha'en ken der Ramban. By contrast, if you look in the Ramban, is mevaya the minyan kruvim. So when he explains what the kruvim are, so he explains it as follows: V'zel shayna. These are the words of the Ramban. Navihine hu kemerkava shara Yecheskel. The kruvim is similar to the merkava, to the chariot of Hashem, as Yecheskel saw it and describes it. And the Eda ki kruvim heima ulekach nikra yeshiv kruvim. He says, I know that they are kruvim. Hashem is referred to as the yeshiv kruvim. Kihayu parsek nafayim, and these kruvim had wings spread out. Lohayreis shehema merkava noisei akovet. They are the merkava. They are the chariot carrying the holy throne of Hashem. V'mtach shavoid lama. If you think about this, why this has to be tuchal ledas kiroi lehem sheyu parsek nafayim lemaila, that it's befitting that they should have wings that are spread out. What does it symbolize? Kihem kisei elyain. This is the holy throne of Hashem. V'seichichem ala eidos shehu michtav elakim. And they, with their wings, are covering over the testimony, which is the luchais, written by Hashem, that's inside of the Aron. So here the Ramban makes clear that just like the kapeiros is a cover for the Aron that contains the luchais inside, the kruvim is also, with its wings, spread out over the luchais, the eidos that's inside. The mitzvah Mevayir was the pasuk Chazit. With this, the Ramban explains why the pasuk repeats the v'nei adati v'dibarti itcha me'ala kapeiros mi bein shnei kruvim, that Hashem says, I will meet and speak to you from the kapeiros between the two kruvim. And then the pasuk says asher al arena edus, which is above the arena edus, the aron that contains the testimony luchas inside. Chach es biyadua shakruvim heim al arena edus, even though this is already known that the kruvim will be above of the arena edus. So what is the Torah highlighting by saying this again? Because these words comes to explain what the kruvim are about. And that is as follows in the words of the Ramban: Ki ba'avur sheyitzave bekruvim liyasam persik nefayim lamayla. Because the pasuk says that the kruvim have to be with wings that are spread out above. V'layama lama yasim klal. And it doesn't say why they should be made. Umashi yishamshu b'mishkan. What do they serve in the mishkan? V'lama yiyah binyan hazeh. Why does it have to be here in this? L'kach omar. Therefore the pasuk here says atanau v'nesato akapeiris and kruvov, that you place the kapeiris with its kruvim, shakoil dover echad, it's all one entity, al ha'orein mulmaila, on top of the orein, ki el ha'orein titenes ha'edus asher etene lecha, inside the orein you place the edus, the luchais that I will give you, kedei sheyirli kisei kaved, it'll be a honorable and holy throne for Hashem, ki ani evoid l'chasham, I will meet you there, v'ashkin shchinasi aleim, and here is where the Shechina dwells, v'dibarti itcha me'ala kapeiris, and I speak to you from above the kapeiris, mi'bein shnei akruvim, from between the two kruvim, ba'avur shehu al arein edus, because it's above the arein that has the edus inside. That's how the Ramban describes this. So kumtais, as the kruvim zen natel von arein, punkt vi kapeiris, as we see it in the words in the Ramban, the kruvim is another part that completes the arein, just as the kapeiris does. Alle drei sind in makim menuchas hashchina. It's all three together: the arein with its cover, the kapeiris, and the kruvim that are hammered out from the kapeiris, that become the befitting place as a kisei yakovid for the Shechina to dwell here. V'adarabe, it's not only that the kruvim is also another detail, another part of the kapeiris or the arein. On the contrary, der Eibishter wird angerufen Yeshiv HaKruvim. The Eibishter is referred to as the one that sits on kruvim, which means that the kruvim is a very important part of bringing the Shechina to dwell in the arein. So if that's what the arein is all about, the dwelling of the Shechina, then the kruvim is certainly a detail in bringing the Shechina to dwell here. That's the understanding of the kruvim according to the Ramban. So we can see here how this machlokes between Rashi and the Ramban also applies to how we define the kruvim as well. Based on this, the Rebbe will show us that there's actually a difference regarding physically the kruvim, how they're shaped, according to Rashi and the Ramban. Al pizeret nech verstehen dem tam achiluk zwischen Rashi and the Ramban benegeh zu tzuras hakruvim. We could also now understand the reason for the distinction that we find between Rashi and the Ramban as far as the kruvim themselves, how they were shaped. The Ramban learned, Kanal, the Ramban says, as mentioned before, as the kruvim zenen kemerkava ashera yecheskel yeshiv hakruvim. The kruvim are like the merkava in the chariot of Hashem. Hashem is referred to as yeshiv hakruvim. That's how the kruvim here below are shaped, like angels. Mashein kein Rashi sagt, as the kruvim zenen gewend demus partzef tinik lehem. That the face of the kruvim is shaped like the face of a child. So what's the reason for this difference? In the Ramban's opinion, the point of the kruvim is that this brings it to be a place for the dwelling of the Shechina. And therefore their shape is like the chariot of Hashem above, the place of where the Shechina dwells. However, Rashi in his opinion, as the kapeiris v'akruvim is nit a prat in dem orein v'edus shabai, the kapeiris and the kruvim is not a part and it's not a detail of the orein and the luchis that are inside, nor a bazunder inye v'keli. It's a different thing, it's a different vessel. On the far side, the kruvim at most parts of tinnik, and therefore the shape of the face of the kruvim is like the face of a child. But das is madgish. What is the face of a child in the two faces of the kruvim that were facing each other? In the shape of the face of a child, what is this emphasizing? The chibe von Eibishten zu Yidden. This is showing, demonstrating the love of Hashem to Yidden. And as it says regarding the Yidden and Hashem, kinar Yisrael v'oyaveyu parts of tinnik. That the relationship between Yidden and Hashem is compared to a young child that Hashem loves, and therefore it's specifically the face of a child. So therefore, that what comes out of here is as follows: Das haste. This means that according to Rashi, the arein mit the edus shabai weiß definiert Torah. The arein that was the place that the edus was kept and contained inside, that's the place for the testimony of Torah. Und der kapeiris, wo v'neyadeti l'chasham, v'dibarti etcha, the kapeiris, which is the place that Hashem says, I will meet you there, and I will speak to you there. Kol ha'shetzava oischa b'nei Yisrael, that Hashem speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu and tells him everything that's relevant for Yidden, is madgish the chavivus from Yidden by Meibishten. The kapeiris and the kruvim, that is highlighting the love that Hashem has for Yidden, was the far is sudas kruvim parts of tinuk, and therefore the shape of the kruvim resembles this as well, the face of a child. Was das is al derech habir von Rabbeinu Bechaye in Inyan kruvim. This understanding of the Kruvim is similar to what Rabbi Bachai also says about the Kruvim. But is Meirich, he speaks about this at length, and he says that it has al derech hapshat. That in the simple understanding of the Kruvim, zene die Shnei Kruvim, zene gewen Zocher and Nekeva, these two Kruvim that were also made in the shape of a male and female, gekumin lohidia kama Yisrael chvivim lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's here to demonstrate to us to what extent the love of Hashem is for Yidden, ki chibas Zocher and Nekeva, like the love between a Zocher and a Nekeva. And the Gemara sagt in Yuma, and as the Gemara tells us about this in Yuma, as b'shah shehoy Yisrael eilen l'regel, when Yidden came up in the time of a Yom Tov to the Beis HaMikdash, they would open up the pareches, the cover of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and they would show the Yidden, the Kruvim, that they were cleaving with one another, and they were completely with love, embracing one another. See the expression of love between you and Hashem. Was das Salz ist Madgish? This is all here to express the extent and the degree of the love and the connection between Yidden and Hashem without any intermediary. As Rabbi Bachai speaks about this there at length. And this is following Rashi's opinion that this is the point of the Kruvim. Whereas according to the Ramban, the point of the Kruvim is all part of the Luchai, the Arin that is, which is there to contain the Luchis in it, which is for Torah. That's the understanding of the Kruvim, the difference between Rashi and the Ramban, and how we understand the shape of the Kruvim themselves. Now, to understand the machlokes between Rashi and the Ramban on a deeper level, according to what it says in Chassidus, that in Yena Arin was besoiches and a gevendi edus, the Arin that contained the edus inside, Vaistev Teire. As mentioned before, this refers to the Teire. Und wie steht euch in Ramban, as the Ramban says, as Kol Yisrael haben sich mishtatzev gewend, ba'asiyas Arin, that all Yidden participated in the building of the Arin, kedei sheyisku kulan l'Teire, because they all want to merit to have Teire. And the Arin that contains the edus, the luchas inside is Teire. So based on this, it comes out as follows. As Leute Ramban, according to the Ramban's opinion, as the Kapeiris and Kruvim sind in ein Sach mit Metzias, ha'arin va'edos, that the Kapeiris and the Kruvim are one entity, with the Arin and the Edos inside, is oich devani adati lecha, v'dibarti etcha, mi'ala Kapeiris, the fact that Hashem meets and speaks with Moshe Rabbeinu above the Kapeiris, verbunden mit inyan ha-Teire, luchis. It's all one thing, connected to one point, to Teire. The fact that the Arin is one vessel and the Kapeiris is another vessel, it's because it's two different things. Teire and Yisrael. The Teire was, the Arin was to contain the Teire inside. So the union of the Arin is Teire. And then the Kapeiris with the Kruvim is a separate Keli. And that's the expression of the connection between Yidden and Hashem. So now based on this we can say, as the Tam Achiluk B'neim is, the reason for the difference between Rashi and the Ramban is as follows. And here the Rebbe will bring us to understand what is the difference between Rashi's Pirush, Rashi's commentary and explanation to Torah, and the Ramban, when the Ramban explains Torah. In Pirush Ramban Zanadot Dvorim Ne'imim V'Yoidim Chen. The Ramban himself writes in his introduction to his Pirush on Torah that he writes Dvarim Ne'imim, pleasant ideas, and ideas that those that know the secrets of Torah are included in his Pirush. And as Mevair in Yonim, from Seidus HaTorah Bagoli. The Ramban speaks about things that are secrets in Torah, the deeper dimension of Torah, but he speaks about them Bagoli. He reveals details about how we can understand this aspect of Torah. Was das ist verbunden mit Beginnes HaGiluyim. And therefore, in the Ramban's Pirush, the way he explains things, this is to be understood in the context of understanding the level of Hashem as Hashem is expressed, Giluyim. Umitzad Giluyim, and now therefore on this level, speaking about the godliness, expression of Hashem, is Yisrael Miskashram Bayraisa. The Yidden's connection to Hashem is through Torah. And Bayraisa Bekutshe Berichu. And the Torah is connected to Hashem. Which means the Keshet zwischen Yidden mit Neibishten is durch Torah. Our connection with Hashem runs through Torah, on this level of Giluyim, on this level of expression of Hashem's existence. That's the Ramban's approach. Mashenken Pirush Rashi, however, Rashi in his commentary on Torah, what is Rashi's Pirush all about? Pshutei Shel Mikra. Rashi is here to explain the simple understanding of the Pasuk. Herzachon, the Pashtus von Yidden. And therefore, in the words of Rashi, he doesn't express the secrets of Torah, but he just explains the simple understanding of Torah, and therefore here, what's sensed and what you can find in the words of Rashi is actually the simple essence and the core of the Yid. Was die Pshitus von Yidden is ein Zach mit Pshitus ha'atzmus. The simple and very essence of the Yid is really one with the very essence of Hashem himself, beyond any level of expression. Und die Kashrus von Yidden mit Eibischen, this level of Yidden as they are connected to Hashem, is hecher noch wie die Kashrus shal yidei Torah kaviyachol. This is a deeper and higher connection that doesn't run through Torah, but it's actually a connection that's beyond and higher than Torah. Ukiyidua, as it's known, the Pirish was mizakt, the explanation that said about the expression that it says in Zohar, Tlas ksharim is kashron, that there are three bonds that tie the three entities together. Nit train, and it doesn't say that there are two knots that tie them together, and this refers to the Eibishter, Kutchebrichu Yisrael Vayraisa. So the expression that says is that there's three knots that tie these three entities together. Now, seemingly, in order to tie three entities together, you only need two knots. So why does it say here three? Was is da der Kesher from Kutchebrichu Yisrael Vayraisa? Because there's the connection between Yidden and the Eibishter, and then comes Torah, meaning that there is that level of connection between Yidden and the Torah, and only through this the connection to Hashem. But then there's a third knot where the Yidden tie directly to the Eibishter himself, which is beyond Torah. Und Fa lernt Rashi. So therefore, it's Rashi's opinion as the Kapayres or Kruvim zenen abazunde keli von Oren, that the Kapayres and the Kruvim are a separate vessel from the Oren itself. Weil der Kapayres direkt ist die Iskashus Atzmis zwischen Yidden mit den Eibishten Shalamayla Matera, because the Kapayres represents and expresses that deep essential connection between Yidden and Hashem that's beyond Torah. Weil Pimaymer Azal, and this is based also on what it says in the Medrash, as Machshavton Shel Yisrael Kodma Afilu LeTorah, that the thought of Yidden, meaning the source of the existence of Yidden within Hashem, is so deep that it's even higher and comes beyond the level of Torah. That's Rashi's opinion. By contrast to Ramban, as I've explained before, we're speaking about the level of Giluyim, expression of godliness, where there the connection of Yidden runs through Torah, and therefore the Ramban sees the entire Oren, including the Kapayres and the Kruvim, all, even though it's speaking also about the Eibishter communicating with Moshe Rabbeinu for the sake of Yidden, but nevertheless, it's all part of one Keli of Torah, where the Eidos, the Torah is contained, because the connection to the Eibishter runs through Torah. Und das ist euch der Bier bepnimis an Yonim, was die Kruvim seine gewähnt the most parts of Tinnik Dafke. And this explains on a deeper level why, according to Rashi, the shape of the Kruvim is like the shape of the face of a child. Weil die Ava Atzmis, von an Av zu a Ben, because that very deep love that there is between a father and son is nit verbunden mit der Meiles a Ben. It's not based on any level of the quality of who the son is. Nor mitzadem was es an etzem echad. Rather, it's based on the fact that the father and son are really one essence. Und ot di ava atzmis steht begilui b'negeya lebnei kotten dafke. And the revelation of this deep connection that's not based on any qualities or on any good attributes is there when you have a small child that doesn't yet have any of those good qualities, and therefore the Oren had the shape of this small child. And similar, the Ava Atzmis from the Meibishten zu Yidden, the love, the essential love between Yidden and Hashem, is nit verbunden mit der Aveda Gluya b'Torah mitzvahs, is not on this level connected to their revealed and expressed serving Hashem, whether in Torah or through mitzvahs, nor vazezenen chelek alekam imal mamish, but rather their very essence, because they are a part of Hashem literally, a chelek v'netzem, a part of the essence of Hashem. Und Rebbe wer die Ava Atzmis zu Yidden ausgedrückt im Dmus Parziv Tinnik Dafke. So this deep essential love between Yidden and Hashem is expressed in the shape of the face of a child specifically. That is the explanation according to Rashi. Based on this, the Rebbe will explain another detail here in the difference between Rashi and the Ramban regarding the Kapayres. Alpizez verstandig. So based on this, we can understand as this is Faran nachiluk ikri zwischen Rashi Ramban. There's a fundamental difference between Rashi and the Ramban, and them tam was the Kapayres mit the Kruvim is mekoymei ala aram al maila. What's the reason for this? That what was the place where the Kapayres was placed? It was placed on top of the Oren. Later Ramban, in the Ramban's opinion, is Oich der Kapayres and Kruvim to leave the Eidos Shabarim. The Kapayres is placed there because the Kapayres and the Kruvim is all for the Eidos, the Torah, which is inside the Oren. Was the far is the Pasuk Madgish mi bein shnei akruvim asher al aroin ha'edus. Wie der Rabban sagt, kanal sifein. As the Rabban explains, that's why the Torah emphasizes that the kapeiros and the kruvim are placed on top of the aroin ha'edus to say that the kruvim, the kapeiros and the kruvim is here for the Torah, the luchos which is inside. However, according to Rashi, there's a different understanding why this is the place of the kapeiros, above the aroin. Is dos was the kapeiros is ala aroin. Milmaila, the fact that it's on the aroin above it, is val the kapeiros is hecher from the aroin va'eda shabai. The milmaila is not as part of the aroin, as a cover to the aroin, but rather milmaila means that it's actually above the aroin. It's higher in its level than the aroin and the Torah that's contained inside. Und the farzan is a megan of an aroin, and that's the reason why the kapeiros and the kruvim is able to protect the aroin, what's inside it. The kapeiros is the kisuyeh from aroin va'eda shabai. Even according to Rashi, the kapeiros did also serve as a cover to the aroin and the edus which is inside. They protect the Torah which is inside. So what does this mean that the kapeiros and the kruvim, which represents that deep connection between Yidden and Hashem, becomes as something that protects the Torah? Because of that very deep connection between Yidden and Hashem, the Yidden are above the aroin, and not only above the level of connection being above Torah, but they actually add to Torah. In this case, to protect the Torah, but also ki yidua, as it's known, ula afasha lo dafke. The Yidden that learn Torah, they are the ones that are machadish in Torah, they innovate in Torah and add to Torah. And what's the power of a Yid to add to Hashem's Torah? Because by adding to Torah, you're drawing from a deeper level of connection to Hashem and bringing that and adding to Torah. Und das ist the kesher mit dem Pirish in kapeiros. This is also the connection to another translation to the word kapeiros that doesn't only mean a cover, but it's also lashon kapara. It means that it's an atonement. What is the source and the power for atonement on a sin is mitzat sheirish neshamas Yisrael v'zeh hechaf and Torah. It's because of the source of the neshama of a yid that's above even Torah. Was the fara filavim by a yidin is given achesarim v'kiyama Torah, and therefore even when a yid was lacking in an area in fulfilling Torah, das heißt es ist a gewaran achesarim in seinen skashut zum eibischen durch Torah. That means that there was a lack in his connection to Hashem that runs through Torah. Is bekaychay zu tzirik memala sein dem chesarim. It's within his power to fill in what was lacking here, bakum in the kapara, and to have an atonement and to create a connection again. And furthermore, al derech mailas bali tshuva legabi tzadikim, as it says regarding the advantage that there is to the level of a bal tshuva that stands above the level of a tzadik, bis to dem hecher and pirish in kapara, you come to the higher and deeper understanding of what the meaning of the word kapara means. It's not just simply as an atonement, but lechaper lifnei Hashem, liyais nachas ruach lekainai. That the atonement is to the level that you come to the level of being lifnei Hashem and to be a source of pleasure for your Creator, for Hashem.